Kenneth Alessio Bianchi, born May 22, 1951, in Rochester, New York, is an American serial killer, kidnapper, and rapist, infamous as one half of the Hillside Stranglers. Alongside his cousin Angelo Buono Jr., Bianchi terrorized Los Angeles between October 1977 and February 1978, kidnapping, raping, torturing, and murdering 10 women and girls aged 12 to 28, their bodies dumped on hillsides to taunt authorities. He later killed 2 more women alone in Bellingham, Washington, in 1979. Bianchi is serving multiple life sentences at Washington State Penitentiary and faces parole in 2025. In this documentary, we dissect his crimes through the lens of psychology and psychoanalysis to uncover what drove this seemingly ordinary man to become a monster. Why focus on Kenneth Bianchi? Because his crimes as a Hillside Strangler aren't just horrifying. They're a psychological enigma that demands exploration. The way he and Buono pose as cops, luring women with badges' false promise of safety, only to unleash unspeakable brutality, is a chilling study in deception and sadism. Imagine this. October 17, 1977, Los Angeles. Yolanda Washington, a 19-year-old prostitute, is snatched off the street, raped, and strangled in the back seat of Bianchi's Cadillac, her naked body tossed like garbage near Forest Lawn Cemetery. Over 4 months, 10 women meet similar fates, bound, tortured, garroted, their bodies left on hillsides, some burned with electrical cords, others gassed with carbon monoxide. Bianchi's solo murders in Washington, where he lured 2 college students to their deaths under the guise of a house-sitting job, reveal a predator who thrived on control. This calculated savagery, paired with his attempt to fake insanity, makes Bianchi's psyche a twisted labyrinth worth dissecting. Let's step back to Rochester, New York, 1951, where Kenneth Bianchi's story begins in chaos. Born to a 17-year-old alcoholic prostitute, he was given up for adoption at 2 weeks old, landing with Nicholas and Frances Bianchi, a working-class couple who made him their only child. But this wasn't a fairy tale adoption. Frances described young Ken as a compulsive liar from the moment he could talk, spinning tales so convincing they unnerved her. Psychologically, this early line suggests a fragile sense of self, possibly rooted in what attachment theory calls insecure attachment. Being adopted by a mother who, by her own account, was strict and emotionally distant could have left Bianchi craving validation while harboring deep resentment toward women, a pattern that would later explode into violence. By adolescence, Bianchi was a troubled kid, prone to tantrums and petty crimes like theft and check forging. His adoptive father's death from a heart attack in 1965, when Ken was 14, was a seismic blow. Frances, now a single mother, worked long hours, leaving Bianchi to fend for himself emotionally. Psychoanalyst Erik Erikson's stages of development suggest that teens need a stable environment to form a coherent identity. Without it, Bianchi's sense of self fractured, his anger festering. His brief marriage to high school girlfriend Brenda Beck in 1971 collapsed after 8 months due to his infidelity, hinting at a deep-seated love-hate relationship with women, as noted in his biography.com profile. This instability set the stage for a man who'd later see women as objects to dominate. What kind of mind orchestrates such carnage? Bianchi's behavior screams of cluster B personality disorders, particularly antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic traits, with a possible dash of psychopathy. ASPD, often called sociopathy, involve a lack of empathy, manipulative behavior, and disregard for others' rights, hallmarks of Bianchi's crimes. His ability to pose as a cop, charming victims into trusting him, points to what psychologists call superficial charm, a trait common in psychopaths. Narcissism, too, likely played a role. Bianchi craved power, evident in his obsession with becoming a police officer, applying to the LAPD even while killing. When rejected, he turned to impersonation, wielding a fake badge to exert control. Psychoanalytically, Freud's concept of the ID, run amok, fits Bianchi. The ID is the primal, pleasure-seeking part of the psyche, unchecked by morality. Bianchi's sadistic acts, torturing victims with electrical cords, experimenting with lethal injection, suggests an ID unleashed, reveling in dominance and destruction. His adoptive mother's strictness may have suppressed his ego, leaving him vulnerable to these impulses. Dr. John Watkins, a psychologist who examined Bianchi, noted in a PBS documentary that he seemed more concerned about what was happening inside himself than the legal consequences, hinting at a fractured psyche wrestling with its own darkness. Picture Los Angeles, fall 1977. The city's buzzing with nightlife, but Predator stalks the streets. Bianchi and Buono, dressed as cops, flash badges at 15-year-old Judy Miller on Halloween. She trusts them, climbs into their car, and is driven to Buono's auto upholstery shop, a house of horrors. There, she's bound, raped, and strangled, her body dumped on a Glendale street, visible to kids heading to school. The scene repeats. Lissa Kasten, a 21-year-old dancer, is lured, tortured, and garroted, her body left near a country club. Lauren Wagner, 18, bears burn marks from an electrical cord, her wrists scarred by handcuffs. She appeared to have been pulled over. LAPD investigator Michelle Kessler recalled in Peacock's The Hillside Strangler, Devil in Disguise. The killer's MO is chillingly consistent. Pose as authority, exploit trust, then unleash hell. Their methods escalate in brutality. Yolanda Washington is gassed with carbon monoxide, her body dumped near a cemetery. Cindy Hudspeth, a 20-year-old waitress, is strangled and stuffed in her own car's trunk, her orange Datsun hauled up a cliff for all to see. She was shy, innocent. Her co-worker Wanda Huff told Oxygen, her voice breaking at the memory of the televised wreckage. The killer's choice to display bodies publicly was a taunt, a psychological power play to terrorize a city. Bianchi's solo murders in Bellingham, Washington, are no less horrific. On January 11, 1979, he lures Karen Mandick and Diane Wilder, two Western Washington University students, to a house under the pretense of a security job. He rapes and strangles them, dumping their bodies in Mandick's car, leaving a paper trail that seals his fate. Why these women? Bianchi and Buono's victims, prostitutes, students, dancers, spanned ages and backgrounds, showing a chilling versatility. Psychologically, their choice reflects a predatory scope that escalated as their confidence grew, as noted in Violent Minds. Prostitutes like Yolanda Washington were easy targets, unlikely to be missed immediately, feeding Bianchi's need for control over vulnerable women. Middle-class victims like 12-year-old Dolores Cepeda and 14-year-old Sonia Johnson, however, suggest a shift toward bolder, riskier prey, a sign of narcissistic grandiosity. They wanted to prove they could take anyone. A detective speculated in the Hillside Strangler, Devil in Disguise. Psychoanalytically, Bianchi's hatred of women likely stemmed from his mother, both his biological mother, who abandoned him, and Frances, whose strictness he resented. Jung's concept of the anima, the unconscious feminine archetype, might explain his targeting of women as projections of his inner conflict. By dominating and destroying them, he was, in a twisted way, trying to master his own insecurities. Their police impersonation added a layer of sadistic irony. Bianchi, rejected by law enforcement, used its authority to betray trust, an ultimate power trip. What makes Bianchi so terrifying is his mask of normalcy. He worked as security guard, lived with his girlfriend Kelly Boyd, and fathered a child, all while killing. He even rode along with LAPD officers searching for the Strangler, a brazen act of manipulation. His TikTok-era equivalent would be posting wholesome family photos while hiding bodies. This duality points to what psychologists call compartmentalization, keeping his killer self separate from his public persona. His attempt to fake multiple personality disorder, claiming an alter ego named Steve Walker committed the crimes, was a calculated ploy. Dr. Martin Orne, a prosecution psychiatrist, saw through it, noting in a PBS documentary, "You have to consider the possibility he cooked this." Bianchi's ruse crumbled when he invented new personas under hypnosis, exposing his lies. This manipulation extends to his prison relationship with Veronica Compton, a playwright obsessed with serial killers. Bianchi convinced her to attempt a copycat murder to make it seem the Strangler was still free, smuggling his semen to plant at the scene. She was fixated with necrophilia, an investigator noted in Violent Minds. Compton's failed attempt and arrest revealed Bianchi's ongoing need to control, even from a cell. Bianchi's downfall began in Bellingham, January 12, 1979. Police, investigating the murders of Mandic and Wilder, found a note in Mandic's car linking her to Bianchi. A search of his home uncovered jewelry from L.A. victims, tying him to the Hillside Strangler case. "We had our killer," a Bellingham detective told HistoryLink. Bianchi initially denied everything, then tried the MPD defense, but Dr. Orn's scrutiny forced him to confess. To avoid the death penalty, he pleaded guilty to 2 Washington murders and 5 in L.A., testifying against Buono, who was convicted of 9 murders and died in prison in 2002. Bianchi received 6 life sentences, with a parole hearing set for 2025. The trial, one of California's longest, was a media circus. The mountain of forensic evidence slowed proceedings, Crime Plus Investigation UK reported, with over 400 witnesses testifying. Bianchi's contradictory statements and Buono's denial of guilt dragged it out, but justice prevailed. Bianchi remains at Washington State Penitentiary. His 1989 marriage to a pen pal, a woman drawn to his infamy, underscoring his manipulative allure. What does Bianchi's story tell us about the human condition? Philosophically, his life embodies Nietzsche's will to power, a relentless drive to dominate that turned him into a predator. His need to control women, police, even the narrative of his trial, reflects a man desperate to assert significance in a world that rejected him. Yet, as Sartre would argue, his freedom to choose came with crushing responsibility. Bianchi chose destruction, and in doing so, condemned himself to a cage of his own making. His crimes force us to confront the banality of evil, how an all-American boy, as PBS described him, could harbor such darkness. Is evil born or made? Bianchi's troubled childhood and psychological fractures suggest a mix of both, a man shaped by pain but defined by his choices. Imagine being Catherine Laurie, daughter of actor Peter Lorre, who narrowly escaped Bianchi and Buono after they stopped her, posing as cops, only to let her go upon recognizing her. "Only after their arrest did I learn who they were," she told investigators, her voice trembling. That near miss, the randomness of survival, is what makes Bianchi's reign of terror so haunting. His victims, mothers, daughters, dreamers, were reduced to trophies in his sick game. As you watch this documentary, feel the weight of their loss, the terror of a city under siege, and the horror of a man who could smile at his girlfriend while strangling another woman's life away. Kenneth Bianchi's story is a descent into the abyss, a reminder that the monster isn't always a stranger. He's the man next door, hiding in plain sight.